High above the dense jungles of Central America, a massive stone structure rises from the earth, silent, mysterious, and breathtaking. This is a Mayan pyramid, one of the most incredible feats of ancient engineering, and it holds secrets that have puzzled researchers for centuries. What if I told you these towering monuments aren't just tombs or temples, but something far more astonishing? Hidden within their steps, carvings, and chambers lie clues to a civilization so advanced, their knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and architecture rivals even our modern understanding. Think about this for a moment. How did the Maya, without metal tools, wheels, or even beasts of burden, build structures so precise that they align perfectly with celestial events like the solstices? How did they encode prophecies, myths, and cosmic cycles into the very stones beneath our feet? And why, after centuries of dominance, did they suddenly abandon these magnificent cities, leaving their pyramids to be swallowed by the jungle? Today, we're peeling back the layers of time to uncover 30 astonishing facts about Mayan pyramids, facts that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the ancient world. From hidden chambers filled with treasures to the eerie accuracy of their celestial calendars, the Maya left behind a legacy that still captivates us. Some pyramids were built to echo the sacred mountains of their myths. Others served as portals to the underworld, where kings performed blood rituals to commune with the gods. And then there are the whispers of lost technologies, echoes of a knowledge we're only beginning to decode. So, are you ready to step into the shadows of these ancient giants? To walk the same steps as priests, astronomers, and kings, because what you're about to discover isn't just history, it's a doorway to a world of wonder waiting to be unlocked. Deep in the heart of Guatemala's untamed jungles, a forgotten giant slumbers, El Mirador, the largest pyramid ever built by the Maya. While Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza steals the spotlight, this colossal structure actually surpasses it in sheer volume, an astonishing fact few realize. Its base stretches wider than 5 football fields laid end to end, and its towering height once dominated the skyline of a thriving ancient metropolis. Yet for centuries, the jungle swallowed it whole, hiding its secrets beneath thick vines and towering trees. The scale is almost unimaginable. Workers moved millions of cubic feet of limestone without wheels, pulleys, or metal tools. Instead, they relied on ingenuity, manpower, and a mastery of engineering that still baffles experts. El Mirador wasn't just a temple, it was the beating heart of a city so vast its ruins sprawl across 6 square miles. Archaeologists believe it took generations to build, layer by painstaking layer, as if the Maya were constructing a sacred mountain to touch the heavens. What's even more incredible, this pyramid was lost to history until the 20th century. While explorers trekked through remote jungles searching for lost cities, El Mirador remained hidden, its true scale only revealed through modern laser mapping technology. Imagine stumbling upon ruins so immense they rewrite what we thought possible about ancient civilizations. And here's the haunting question: why did the Maya abandon such a masterpiece? Was it war, drought, or something even more mysterious? The stones still hold their silence, but the discovery of El Mirador proves one thing: the Maya's ambition was as boundless as the jungle itself. Now picture this: a civilization carving limestone blocks with nothing but stone hammers and wooden wedges, shaping each piece with such precision that they fit together without mortar, locking into place like a colossal jigsaw puzzle. The Maya didn't just build pyramids, they engineered marvels without the benefit of metal tools, wheels, or even draft animals to haul their materials. Every stone was quarried, dragged, and lifted by human hands, a testament to both their physical endurance and their astonishing craftsmanship. Take a closer look at the stones themselves. The edges are so exact, the surfaces so smooth, that even today's architects marvel at how they achieved such perfection. Workers used abrasives like sand and water to polish each block, slowly grinding them down until they matched flawlessly. Some theories suggest they may have used fire to weaken the stone before shaping it, heating and cooling the rock to create controlled fractures. Others point to obsidian blades, razor-sharp volcanic glass capable of scoring precise lines before the final cuts were made. But the real mystery lies in the transportation. Without wheels or beasts of burden, the Maya relied on wooden sleds, ropes, and sheer manpower to move stones weighing multiple tons. They constructed ramps from compacted earth and logs, inching each block upward in a grueling display of coordination and persistence. The logistics alone boggle the mind. How did they organize thousands of workers to lift these stones hundreds of feet into the air? Perhaps the most jaw-dropping evidence of their skill is found in the joints between stones. Many blocks fit so tightly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. This precision wasn't just for show, it gave their pyramids unmatched stability, allowing them to withstand earthquakes, centuries of jungle growth, and even the weight of time itself. The next time you see a Mayan pyramid, remember those perfect angles, those seamless walls. They weren't crafted with modern tools. They were shaped by human ingenuity, patience, and a mastery of stone that still leaves us in awe. Here's something that will make you rethink how these ancient monuments were constructed. The Mayan pyramids we see today aren't always their original form. Archaeologists have made a spine-tingling discovery. Many of these towering structures are actually layered like cosmic onions, with older pyramids hidden deep inside. That's right, what appears to be a single pyramid is often a series of smaller, earlier versions, each swallowed by the next generation of builders. Take the Temple of Kukulkan at Chichén Itzá, for example. Beneath its iconic stepped facade, researchers discovered not one but two previous pyramids, each built directly over the last. The innermost structure dates back centuries earlier, buried so completely that it remained unseen until modern technology peeled back the layers. This wasn't just renovation, it was a sacred act of continuity, a way for the Maya to honor their past while reaching for the heavens. But why rebuild instead of starting fresh? The answer lies in the Maya's spiritual connection to these sites. To them, these weren't just buildings, they were portals to the gods, infused with centuries of ritual energy. By constructing new layers over the old, they preserved the sacred power of the original while amplifying its grandeur. Imagine the effort hauling tons of stone to encase an existing pyramid, reshaping the landscape to make it grander, taller, more awe-inspiring. Each layer wasn't just architecture, it was a statement of devotion, a lineage of kings and priests leaving their mark on eternity. The most astonishing example might be the Pyramid of the Magician in Uxmal. Beneath its soaring, curved walls, archaeologists found no fewer than 5 separate structures, each built over the ruins of the last. The oldest dates back to the 6th century, a humble beginning that grew into a masterpiece over generations. Some researchers believe these rebuilds coincided with significant cosmic events, like the passing of a 52-year calendar cycle, turning each layer into a time capsule of celestial alignment. Uncovering these hidden pyramids has revolutionized our understanding of Mayan civilization. Every burial of an old structure was a rebirth, a testament to a culture that saw time as cyclical, not linear. The stones whisper a story of persistence, of a people so devoted to their sacred sites that they returned to them again and again, leaving behind clues we're only now deciphering. So the next time you see a Mayan pyramid, remember what stands before you might just be the outermost layer of a mystery centuries in the making. Standing before the Temple of Kukulkan at Chichén Itzá, you might notice something extraordinary, but only if you visit on the right day. Twice a year, during the spring and autumn equinoxes, a mesmerizing illusion comes to life as the setting sun casts shadows along the pyramid steps. A sinuous, undulating shape appears, winding its way down the staircase like a serpent in motion. This isn't just a trick of the light. It's a meticulously engineered spectacle, a testament to the Mayas' jaw-dropping understanding of astronomy, architecture, and artistry combined. The effect is no accident. Each of the pyramid's 4 staircases has 91 steps, totaling 364 when combined with the shared platform at the top. Add that one final step, the sacred platform itself, and you get 365, a perfect representation of the solar year. But the true stroke of genius lies in the pyramid's alignment. The northwest corner is positioned so precisely that during the equinoxes, the sun's rays strike the edges of the terraces at the perfect angle. Triangular shadows form along the balustrades, creating the illusion of a diamond-backed serpent slithering downward, its body segmented by light and shadow. The serpent isn't just a decorative flourish, it's Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god, descending from the heavens to bless the earth. The Maya believed these moments marked a sacred bridge between worlds, when the boundaries between the divine and mortal realms grew thin. Witnesses describe the shadow as eerily lifelike, appearing to move as the sun dips lower, vanishing only when the light fades completely. Some claim they've even seen a carved serpent's head at the base of the staircase align perfectly with the shadow's tail, as if completing the celestial serpent's journey. What's truly mind-blowing is how the Maya achieved this without modern tools. They calculated the pyramid's angles to match the sun's position down to the minute, accounting for the slight variations in the equinox dates over centuries. Even more astonishing, recent studies suggest the illusion might not be limited to the equinoxes. On dates marking the beginning of the agricultural season, shadows create similar serpentine effects, hinting at a deeper calendar system woven into the stone. This isn't just architecture, it's a celestial clock, a divine symbol, and a masterpiece of precision all in one. The Temple of Kukulkan doesn't just honor the gods, it invites them to dance across its stones, proving the Maya didn't just observe the cosmos, they conversation with it. Imagine standing in the heart of an ancient Mayan city, surrounded not by the weathered gray stones we see today, but by pyramids blazing in vivid crimson, their surfaces shimmering under the tropical sun. These monuments weren't just structures, they were beacons painted in a striking red so bright they could be spotted from miles away. This wasn't mere decoration, it was a sacred choice, a visual proclamation of power and spirituality. The pigment came from cinnabar, a mercury-rich mineral that produced an intense, almost fluorescent hue when mixed with lime and other binders. The color red held profound meaning for the Maya. It symbolized blood, the life force that connected humans to the gods, and by extension, the very essence of existence. Covering their pyramids in this pigment transformed them into living entities pulsing with symbolic vitality. Picture the effect, a city's skyline dominated by these blood-red temples, their brilliance cutting through the green of the jungle like fire. The paint wasn't just applied haphazardly, artisans layered it carefully, often polishing the surface to a near-mirror finish that would catch and reflect sunlight, amplifying the visual impact. But here's what's truly fascinating: the Maya went to extraordinary lengths to obtain cinnabar. They mined it from deep underground in hazardous locations, sometimes traveling hundreds of miles to secure enough for their grandest projects. The mineral was toxic, yet they handled it with reverence, believing its vibrancy carried divine energy. Traces of this pigment still cling to hidden crevices of pyramids today, surviving centuries of rain and erosion, as if the stones themselves refused to let go of their original glory. Archaeologists using spectroscopic analysis have detected remnants of the red paint on pyramids across the Mayan world, from Tikal to Palenque. In some places, they've even found evidence of intricate murals beneath the red base layer, suggesting the pyramids were once canvases for sprawling artworks now lost to time. The paint served another practical purpose too. It protected the soft limestone from weathering, sealing the porous surface against tropical storms. Standing before one of these pyramids in its original state would have been an overwhelming experience. The red would have seemed almost supernatural, a man-made mountain glowing against the horizon. For pilgrims approaching the city, the site would signal they were entering sacred ground, a place where the earthly and divine collided. Today, though the paint has faded, the legacy of that bold chromatic choice remains, a reminder that the Maya didn't just build monuments, they brought them to life with color, turning architecture into a visceral, unforgettable spectacle. Beneath the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, a site deeply connected to Mayan culture, lies a labyrinth of tunnels so vast it rivals the structure above ground. Archaeologists using ground-penetrating radar made a spine-chilling discovery, a hidden network of chambers and passageways stretching nearly 300 feet, reaching down into the earth like roots of some ancient sacred tree. These aren't just empty spaces, they're adorned with eerie offerings, from delicate seashells to shimmering pyrite mirrors, objects believed to guide souls through the underworld. The tunnels were no accident. The Maya and their neighbors saw the underworld as a realm of transformation, a place where rulers could commune with ancestors and gods. Walking these passages wasn't just a physical journey, it was a descent into myth. At the tunnel's end beneath the Pyramid of the Sun, researchers found a haunting chamber filled with liquid mercury, a substance so rare and toxic, its presence can only mean one thing: this was a portal to the supernatural. Mercury pooled like a phantom river, mirroring the celestial waters of the Maya's cosmic maps. Some believe initiates would cross it symbolically, stepping between worlds in rituals we can barely comprehend. But here's what's even more astonishing: similar tunnels crisscross beneath other Mayan pyramids. Beneath El Castillo in Chichén Itzá, a submerged passage leads to a submerged cenote, a natural sinkhole the Maya revered as a gateway to Xibalba, their underworld. At Palenque, the tomb of King Pakal revealed a hidden staircase descending into darkness, its walls carved with glyphs warning of the journey ahead. These weren't just architectural quirks, they were carefully engineered spiritual highways. The real mystery: how they built them. Without modern tools, workers carved through solid bedrock, often in pitch-black conditions, aligning tunnels precisely with celestial events. Some passages narrow to claustrophobic crawl spaces, forcing ritual participants to move single file, heightening the sense of descent into the unknown. Others open suddenly into vast chambers where echoes linger unnaturally, as if the stones themselves were designed to disorient. Recent explorations have turned up even stranger finds: walls embedded with mica, a mineral that conducts electricity, though its purpose remains debated. Were these tunnels designed to harness unseen energies, or were they acoustic chambers where chants and drumbeats could summon spirits? Every new discovery deepens the enigma. One thing's certain: to the Maya, these tunnels weren't just hidden spaces, they were the veins of the earth, pulsing with secrets we're only beginning to uncover. High in the dense jungles of Central America, certain Mayan pyramids don't just point to the sky, they whisper secrets about Venus, the dazzling planet that captivated the Maya like no other celestial body. Unlike modern astronomers who see Venus as a neighboring planet, the Maya revered it as a divine force, a celestial god tied to war, agriculture, and the very rhythm of life itself. And they didn't just watch it, they built entire pyramids to align with its movements, turning stone into cosmic observatories. Take the Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichén Itzá. Its 4 staircases aren't just architectural marvels, they're precisely positioned to frame Venus at key points in its cycle. When Venus rises as the morning star, a phenomenon the Maya called Chak-ek, its light spills perfectly along the pyramid's northeastern corner, illuminating carvings of the planet's god in battle regalia. But this alignment isn't random. The Maya tracked Venus with jaw-dropping precision, calculating its 584-day cycle down to a fraction of a degree. They knew it so well, they could predict its appearances centuries in advance, and their pyramids served as permanent stone records of that knowledge. Why such obsession with Venus? To the Maya, its phases weren't just astronomical events, they were omens. When Venus reappeared as the morning star after its long disappearance, it signaled the start of war campaigns. Kings timed battles to coincide with its rise, believing the planet infused their warriors with divine ferocity. Glyphs at sites like Chichén depict rulers clutching spears beneath Venus symbols, their conquests tied irrevocably to the planet's movements. But Venus wasn't just a harbinger of conflict, it also governed agriculture. Its reappearance as the evening star marked the planting season, a celestial reminder to sow crops before the rains arrived. The caracol at Chichén Itzá takes this alignment even further. Its narrow windows don't just frame Venus, they track its path across the sky with uncanny accuracy. On specific dates, the planet's light slips through these apertures like a thread through a needle, striking altars deep inside the structure. Modern astronomers have confirmed these alignments match Venus's 8-year cycle, a pattern the Maya encoded into their sacred calendars. And then there's Uxmal. The governor's palace aligns so precisely with Venus's southernmost position that on the right evening, the planet appears to glide along the building's facade, as if rolling atop its roof. This wasn't just decorative, it was a cosmic clock, a way to harmonize human activity with the heavens. The genius of these alignments lies in their duality. The same pyramids that tracked Venus for war also guided farmers planting maize. The same planet that inspired terror in enemies brought life-giving rains. For the Maya, astronomy wasn't just science, it was survival, spirituality, and power woven together. Today, when we look at these pyramids, we're not just seeing ruins. We're witnessing the legacy of a people who turned architecture into a dialogue with the cosmos, one where every stone whispered the secrets of the stars. At the dizzying heights of Mayan pyramids, where the sky seemed close enough to touch, priests performed rituals so brutal they defy modern comprehension. Victims, often prisoners of war or volunteers seeking divine favor, ascended steep steps under guard, knowing they would not return. At the summit, surrounded by swirling incense and the murmurs of chanting priests, they were held against a cold stone altar. In one swift motion, a jagged obsidian blade plunged into their chest, their still beating heart ripped out as an offering to the gods. The body was then hurled down the steps, joining piles of previous sacrifices. The blood-slicked stones a testament to the Maya's unshakable belief that life demanded life. But this wasn't mere brutality, it was cosmic currency. The Maya saw blood as the sacred fuel that sustained the universe. Without it, the sun would stall in the sky, crops would wither, and the world would plunge into chaos. The higher the sacrifice, the closer to the gods it traveled. Pyramid summits weren't just execution sites, they were bridges between realms where human suffering brought cosmic order. Victims weren't always unwilling. Some nobles volunteered, believing their deaths would elevate their family's status for generations. Others, like captured rival kings, were paraded in humiliation before their end, their suffering magnifying the ritual's potency. The tools of these rituals reveal their chilling precision. Archaeologists have found ceremonial blades with grooves to channel blood into ceremonial bowls, their edges still sharp enough to slice flesh. Jade-inlaid altars bore deep stains from centuries of use, and carvings depict gods cradling hearts like precious gems. At El Castillo in Chichén Itzá, a hidden chamber near the summit held a throne carved with warriors clutching decapitated heads, a grisly reminder of the stakes. Yet the most haunting evidence lies in the bones. Skulls recovered from pyramid sites show precise cuts, indicating skilled hands practiced in swift, ritualized killing. Some remains bear traces of hallucinogens, suggesting victims were drugged to ease their passage. Others show signs of prolonged torture, their suffering prolonged to amplify the offering's power. This wasn't random violence. Every cut, every drop of blood followed an exacting spiritual script. The Maya believed these acts kept the world in balance, a dark pact between mortals and the divine. Today, when winds howl over these ancient summits, some swear they hear echoes of the past, not screams, but whispers of a people who gave everything to keep the cosmos alive. Climb the steps of El Castillo at Chichén Itzá, and you're not just ascending a pyramid, you're walking through time itself. Each of its 4 staircases boasts 91 steps, a number that's far from arbitrary. Multiply those steps by the 4 sides, and you get 364. Add the single shared platform at the very top, and suddenly, you're standing on a physical representation of a solar year, 365 steps mirroring 365 days. This isn't coincidence, it's a monumental stone calendar designed to track the passage of time with breathtaking precision. But the Maya didn't stop there. The pyramid's 9 terraced levels, divided by the staircases, aren't just architectural flourishes, they're a nod to the 18 months of the Mayan solar calendar. Each level represents 2 months, with the summit symbolizing the final 5 unlucky days known as the Wayeb, a liminal period when the Maya believed the veil between worlds grew thin. Together, the tiers and steps form a celestial abacus, a way to count not just days but the cyclical nature of existence. The deeper genius lies in the pyramid's alignment. During the equinoxes, as sunlight dances across the steps, the shadow serpent slithers down, but this isn't just a visual spectacle. The phenomenon marks the exact midpoint of the solar year, a natural checkpoint encoded into the stones. Even more remarkably, the pyramid's corners are angled to correspond with the rising and setting sun on key dates, turning the entire structure into a sundial of staggering complexity. On the summer solstice, the sun strikes the northwest corner at dawn, casting a shadow that bisects the pyramid perfectly. On the winter solstice, the effect reverses, with light and shadow trading places like dancers in a cosmic ballet. These alignments weren't just symbolic, they dictated planting seasons, religious ceremonies, and even the timing of wars. The Maya believed time wasn't linear but cyclical, and their pyramids served as anchors to these recurring cosmic patterns. At sites like Tikal, staircases were deliberately built with uneven step heights, creating intervals that match the lunar cycle. Missing a step in the dark would literally mean losing track of the moon's phase, a clever, tactile reminder of celestial rhythms. What's truly astonishing is how the Maya integrated multiple calendar systems into a single structure. Beyond the solar year, El Castillo's dimensions subtly reference the sacred Tzolk'in, a 260-day cycle governing rituals. The 4 staircases, each with 52 panels, echo the 52-year calendar round, when the solar and sacred calendars realigned, a moment so significant. The Maya often rebuilt or rededicated entire cities to mark its passage. Modern archaeologists have even discovered that the pyramid's acoustics play a role in this timekeeping. Clap your hands at the base, and the echo returns as a distorted chirp, mimicking the sacred quetzal bird whose calls signaled auspicious moments for the Maya. It's as if the pyramid doesn't just mark time, it speaks its language, translating celestial movements into sound, shadow, and stone. These pyramids weren't passive monuments. They were living calendars, their very architecture a dialogue between earth and sky. Every step counted a day, every terrace a season, every shadow a celestial omen. To the Maya, time wasn't abstract, it was a force woven into the fabric of their world, and their pyramids, they were the looms. Stand at the base of El Castillo in Chichén Itzá, clap your hands just once, and something extraordinary happens. The echo that bounces back doesn't sound like an ordinary reverberation. Instead, it transforms into a sharp, chirping tone, uncannily mimicking the call of the quetzal, a sacred bird revered by the Maya as a symbol of divinity and freedom. This isn't just a quirk of architecture, it's proof that these pyramids were designed not just for the eyes but for the ears. The Maya engineered their structures with acoustic precision so advanced, it still stumps modern scientists. How did they achieve this auditory marvel? The answer lies in the pyramid staircases. Each step is precisely angled and spaced to break up sound waves in a way that filters out lower frequencies, leaving only that high-pitched chirp. It's the same principle behind musical instruments, where shape and material shape sound, except the Maya scaled it to monumental proportions. Researchers have found that the echo's pitch matches the Quetzal's call almost exactly, a feat requiring both an intimate knowledge of acoustics and an obsession with detail. But the acoustic wonders don't stop there. At certain points around the pyramid, whispers uttered at one corner can be heard clearly on the opposite side, as if the stones themselves carry secrets. In the grand ball court nearby, a single word spoken at one end can reverberate up to 10 times, creating an eerie chorus. The Maya likely used these effects during ceremonies where chants or drum beats would have rippled through the air with supernatural resonance, amplifying the power of rituals. What's truly mind-bending, these acoustic tricks aren't accidental byproducts of construction. At other Mayan sites like Tikal and Uxmal, similar auditory phenomena occur, suggesting a shared blueprint for sonic design. Some theories propose the Maya used these echoes to simulate the voices of gods during ceremonies, making the pyramids literal conduits for the divine. Modern engineers have tried to replicate the Quetzal echo effect using computer models, only to find the exact dimensions and materials of the pyramid are irreplaceable. Even a slight deviation in the stone's porosity or the angle of a step silences the chirp. This level of precision implies the Maya didn't just build, they listened, adjusting each block until the stones themselves sang. So the next time you see a Mayan pyramid, remember, these aren't silent ruins. They're instruments frozen in stone, waiting for the right hands or the right clap to wake them. The Quetzal's call echoing across centuries isn't just a sound. It's a message from the architects of the past, proving their genius extended far beyond what the eye can see. Imagine standing in the bustling heart of Tikal at its peak, surrounded by towering pyramids, the air thick with the scent of copal incense, the sounds of merchants bartering and scribes scratching glyphs into bark paper. Then, in what seems like the blink of an eye, the city falls silent. By the 9th century, Tikal's grand plazas lay empty, its temples abandoned to the creeping jungle. This wasn't an isolated event. Across the Maya world, from Palenque to Capon, thriving metropolises met the same fate, their populations vanishing with eerie suddenness. What could make an entire civilization walk away from its greatest achievements? Archaeologists have pieced together clues pointing to a perfect storm of crises. One leading theory, a climate catastrophe. Analysis of lakebed sediments reveals a series of devastating droughts between the years 800 and 1000, periods when rainfall dropped by nearly half. For a civilization dependent on seasonal rains to grow maize, this wasn't just hardship, it was existential. Trees in ancient cenotes show growth rings stunted by thirst, while pollen records prove crops failed year after year. The Maya adapted at first, digging intricate irrigation canals and building reservoirs, but even their ingenuity had limits. When the rains stopped entirely for decades, starvation may have shattered the social order, turning neighbor against neighbor in a desperate scramble for survival. Yet drought alone doesn't explain everything. Warfare seems to have exploded during this collapse, with cities erecting hasty defensive walls and mass graves revealing brutal violence. At Dos Pilas, archaeologists uncovered a pit filled with the bones of executed nobles, their skulls smashed by war clubs. Glyphs tell of once allied cities turning on each other, their kings captured and sacrificed in ritual humiliations. Some researchers argue this wasn't just political conflict, it was societal unraveling. As crops failed and gods seemed to turn their backs, the Maya may have lost faith in their rulers, whose power hinged on their ability to commune with the divine. A king who couldn't bring rain became worse than useless. He became a target. But here's the twist, not every city fell at once. While Tikal and Palenque emptied, places like Chichén Itzá thrived for centuries longer. This suggests the collapse wasn't a single event but a domino effect, with each failure straining neighboring cities until the whole system buckled. Trade routes fractured, cutting off access to essentials like obsidian for tools and salt for preserving food. As networks collapsed, so did the specialized economies that supported pyramid building and art. The Maya didn't vanish, they dispersed, retreating to smaller villages where survival didn't depend on kings or grand rituals. The most haunting evidence comes from the ruins themselves. At Palenque, workers left half-carved monuments mid-chisel, as if fleeing suddenly. In Chichén, a royal residence was burned, its scorched floors littered with shattered pottery. These aren't the signs of gradual decline, but of abrupt, traumatic endings. Some researchers propose epidemics possibly brought by increased trade as another factor, wiping out weakened populations. Others point to soil exhaustion. Centuries of intensive farming may have stripped the land of nutrients, leaving it barren even when rains returned. Yet for all these theories, the collapse remains one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. The Maya didn't just leave their cities, they left behind their calendars, their writing systems, their monumental art. What happened to the scribes who once tracked the stars with such precision? The architects who aligned pyramids to the cosmos? Their knowledge didn't disappear overnight, but without the cities to sustain it, it fragmented into whispers, fading like footsteps swallowed by the jungle. Perhaps the real lesson lies in the fragility of even the mightiest civilizations. The Maya built wonders that still leave us awestruck, yet their greatest cities now stand as silent reminders, not of failure but of resilience. The people survived, adapting in ways we're still uncovering. Their pyramids didn't crumble because they were weak. They stood as monuments to a society so bold, so brilliant, that its absence echoes louder than most presences ever could. Beneath layers of moss and centuries of weather, the stones of Mayan pyramids hide stories not just in their shapes, but in the intricate hieroglyphs carved into their surfaces. For decades, these symbols were considered indecipherable, their meanings locked away like secrets in a forgotten language. But breakthroughs in epigraphy, the study of ancient inscriptions, have cracked the code, revealing tales of war, betrayal, and royal drama that rival any modern epic. Take the Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque. Its walls aren't just decorative, they're a meticulously carved history book chronicling the life of King Pakal the Great. One panel depicts his ascension to the throne at just 12 years old, a child ruler thrust into power amidst political turmoil. Another shows his military triumphs, with glyphs detailing how he crushed rebellions and expanded his kingdom. But the most astonishing revelation, a glyph once thought to depict Pakal descending into the underworld, was actually a metaphor for his death, a proof the Maya saw rulers as divine beings transitioning between realms. At Chichén, hieroglyphs tell a darker story. A staircase adorned with over 2,000 glyphs documents the city's rise and fall, including a humiliating defeat by the rival city of Quirigá. The inscriptions describe how Chichén's king, Uaxtlajuan Abakayawil, was captured and beheaded, his skull displayed as a trophy. This wasn't just a battle loss, it was a cosmic catastrophe, a sign the gods had withdrawn their favor. The glyphs even record the exact date, April 29, 738, a day that reshaped the region's power dynamics. What's truly groundbreaking is how these carvings rewrite history. At Dos Pilas, glyphs revealed a royal sibling rivalry so bitter, it sparked a civil war. Two brothers, one ruling Dos Pilas, the other Tikal, clashed in a conflict that dragged neighboring cities into chaos. The inscriptions describe ambushes, sieges, and even the drowning of nobles in sacred cenotes as sacrifices. This wasn't just myth, it was realpolitik carved in stone. The decipherment process itself is a marvel. Early researchers assumed the glyphs were purely astronomical or religious, but linguists like Yuri Norisov and David Stewart proved they recorded actual speech, blending phonetic sounds with symbolic meaning. For example, a glyph showing a hand gripping a fish doesn't just represent a fish, it spells the syllable ka, part of a king's name. This duality allowed the Maya to encode complex histories in compact symbols, turning pyramids into permanent records of their world. Some of the most poignant discoveries come from minor sites where glyphs preserve everyday moments. A step at Yaxchilan depicts a queen pulling a thorned rope through her tongue to collect blood for ritual parchment, her pain immortalized as an act of piety. At El Mirador, a fading inscription recounts a disastrous hurricane that toppled temples, a reminder that even the Maya were at the mercy of nature. These hieroglyphs do more than fill history books, they humanize a civilization often reduced to ruins. We see kings boasting of victories, scribes correcting mistakes in their carvings, mothers mourning lost children. The stones don't just speak, they confess, brag, and grieve. And with each new translation, we're not just learning about the Maya, we're listening to them. Rising from the flat plains of the Yucatan, the Pyramid of the Magician at Uxmal defies every expectation of Mayan architecture. While most pyramids boast sharp angles and stepped tiers, this structure curves skyward in a smooth, almost organic oval, like an enormous conch shell turned to stone. The effect is both mesmerizing and disorienting, as if the very laws of geometry bent to the will of its builders, but the pyramid's shape isn't its only mystery. Local legend claims it was built in a single night by a dwarf king, born from an egg and gifted with supernatural powers. The story goes like this. An old sorceress, grieving her childlessness, discovered a mystical egg that hatched a dwarf boy. As he grew, he challenged the ruler of Uxmal to a series of impossible trials, including the construction of a pyramid before dawn. When the king scoffed, the dwarf summoned the forces of the underworld, and by morning the pyramid stood complete. In his fury, the defeated king leaped from its summit, leaving the dwarf to claim the throne. Archaeologists smile at the tale, but they can't ignore the pyramid's baffling construction. Unlike other Mayan pyramids built in phases, this one shows no signs of inner layers. Its smooth, rounded sides suggest it was conceived as a single, cohesive vision, a feat requiring engineering prowess beyond its time. What's even more intriguing are the pyramid's acoustic properties. Whisper at the base, and your voice carries unnaturally up the curved facade, as if the stones themselves amplify sound. Some researchers believe this was intentional, allowing priests to address crowds without shouting. The curvature also plays with light during solstices. Shadows cascade down its sides like liquid, creating illusions of movement that mirror the dwarf legend's magic. The pyramid's name, magician or soothsayer in Spanish, hints at its spiritual role. Its western staircase aligns with the setting sun during Venus's zenith, a celestial event the Maya linked to prophecy. At the summit, a doorway shaped like the gaping mouth of a serpent leads to an inner sanctum where rulers may have performed divination rituals, seeking visions in the flicker of torchlight. Modern laser scans reveal another oddity. The pyramid's foundation isn't square but elliptical, following the natural contours of an ancient cenote beneath it. This suggests the Maya didn't just build over the landscape, they integrated it, bending their architecture to honor hidden waters below. The Pyramid of the Magician doesn't just defy conventions, it whispers of a lost school of Mayan thought, one where curves held as much power as angles and where myth might have been closer to truth than we dare believe. Walking through the ruins of Chichen, you might think you're seeing just another ancient city until you look up. The arrangement of its pyramids isn't random. Each one corresponds to a specific star in the night sky, turning the entire city into a sprawling cosmic map carved in stone. The Maya didn't just observe the heavens, they built their world as a reflection of them, aligning temples with celestial bodies so precisely that stepping through the plazas would have felt like walking through the constellations themselves. Take the Great Plaza at Chichen. Its central pyramid doesn't just anchor the city, it mirrors the position of the bright star Rigel in the Orion constellation. Nearby structures align with Betelgeuse and Bellatrix, forming a terrestrial replica of Orion's belt. This wasn't poetic coincidence. The Maya believed earthly and celestial realms were interwoven, and by constructing their cities as mirrors of the cosmos, they blurred the line between the two. Glyphs at the site even reference this duality, describing the city as Chan Kapon, Sky Kapon, a direct nod to its heavenly twin, but the celestial mimicry goes deeper. At Tikal, the temple of the great jaguar aligns with the rising sun during the winter solstice, while its counterpart, the temple of the masks, marks the summer solstice sunrise. Together, they form an axis that tracks the sun's annual journey, turning the city into a giant sundial. Meanwhile, the sprawling layout of Calakmul's pyramids mirrors the Pleiades star cluster, a grouping the Maya called Tzab, meaning rattlesnake tail, linking the stars to agricultural cycles and sacred serpent mythology. What's truly astonishing is the precision. At Uaxactun, a group of 3 small pyramids align perfectly with the sunrise points at the equinoxes and solstices. From a central observatory, priests could watch the sun rise over each pyramid in turn, marking the changing seasons with stone-cold accuracy. These alignments weren't just symbolic, they dictated planting schedules, religious festivals, and even the timing of royal coronations. A king crowned under the right stars was thought to rule with the gods' favor, his reign tied to the eternal rhythms of the universe. Recent LiDAR scans have revealed even grander patterns. The entire city of El Mirador appears to be arranged in a massive quadripartite design, mirroring the Mayan concept of the cosmos, a world divided into 4 cardinal directions with a sacred center, the axis mundi connecting Earth to the heavens. Pyramids at the city's edges align with key stars, while central structures like the Ladanto pyramid act as the pivot point, the earthly counterpart to the celestial pole. This cosmic blueprint wasn't static. As stars shifted over centuries due to precession, a slow wobble in Earth's axis, the Maya adjusted their architecture. At Chichén Itzá, later constructions realigned to account for these changes, proving their astronomers tracked celestial movements across generations. The pyramids weren't just monuments, they were living observatories, their stones whispering the secrets of a universe in motion. To stand in these cities today is to witness a lost science, one that fused sky and stone into a single, sacred language. The Maya didn't just map the stars, they built a world where every step, every glance upward, was a reminder that humanity's place was written in the heavens. Beneath the towering pyramids of ancient Mayan cities, another kind of structure held equal power: the ball court. Far more than a sports arena, these long, narrow plazas flanked by steep walls were sacred stages where ritual, sport, and sacrifice intertwined. The most famous lies at Chichén Itzá, its towering hoops carved with serpents, but every major Mayan city had one, often positioned directly beside the pyramid as if the two were halves of a single spiritual machine. The game itself, called pits, was anything but casual. Players used hips and elbows to drive a solid rubber ball weighing up to 9 pounds through stone rings mounted high on the walls. The rules remain shrouded in mystery, but glyphs and murals suggest matches were grueling marathons, with players wearing padded belts to protect against the ball's bone-jarring impact. Surviving art shows athletes bleeding from wounds, their bodies bent in exhaustion, yet this was only part of the ordeal. For the Maya, the ball game wasn't just a competition. It was a reenactment of cosmic battles, a clash between the forces of life and death. Some contests ended with a chilling twist: sacrifice. At El Tajin, carvings depict victorious players holding the decapitated heads of opponents, while panels at Chichén Itzá show teams standing beside piles of skulls. But here's the shocking part: it wasn't always the losers who died. In certain rituals, the winners were honored with the ultimate tribute, the privilege of being sacrificed to the gods. Their blood was seen as especially potent, charged with the energy of victory, and their deaths ensured cosmic balance. The ball court's designs reveal their spiritual weight. Many align with celestial events. The Great Ball Court at Chichén Itzá runs north-south, mirroring the path of the sun at zenith. Whispers spoken at one end echo unnaturally loud at the other, a trick of acoustics that may have simulated the voices of gods during ceremonies. Beneath some courts, archaeologists have found hidden chambers filled with offerings, jade beads, obsidian blades, and even the remains of children, suggesting rituals far darker than the games themselves. Why pair ball courts with pyramids? The answer lies in Mayan mythology. The Popol Vuh, their sacred text, tells of hero twins who defeated the lords of the underworld in a ball game, winning the right to resurrection. By reenacting this myth, players symbolically battled for the renewal of life, their struggles mirroring the sun's nightly journey through the underworld. The pyramids reaching skyward represented rebirth. The ball courts sunken into the earth embodied the realm of the dead. Together, they formed a cycle: destruction and creation played out in stone. Modern visitors to these courts often feel the weight of that history. The silence is unnerving, the walls towering like judges. Some claim they've heard the ghostly thud of the ball in the night, as if the game never truly ended. Whether myth or memory, one thing's certain: these weren't arenas. They were theaters of fate, where every bounce of the rubber ball echoed the heartbeat of the cosmos. Deep in the dense jungles of southern Mexico, the ruins of Calakmul rise like silent sentinels of a forgotten war. This wasn't just another Mayan city. It was the heart of a kingdom so powerful it challenged Ticol's dominance for centuries, and its pyramids were more than monuments, they were declarations of supremacy. While Ticol's temples pierced the sky with their towering heights, Calakmul's rulers took a different approach, constructing over 6,000 structures sprawled across a vast urban expanse, as if to prove their cities might not through height alone, but through sheer, overwhelming scale. The rivalry between these two superpowers was more than political, it was cosmic. Calakmul's rulers styled themselves as the divine patrons of the Snake dynasty, adopting the emblem glyph of the serpent head as their royal insignia. Meanwhile, Ticol's kings claimed descent from the great maize god, positioning themselves as the sustainers of life. Their competing mythologies played out in stone, with each city's pyramids serving as billboards for their ideologies. Calakmul's structure, too, one of the largest pyramids in the Maya world, wasn't just a temple, it was a throne room for the underworld gods, its summit crowned with a temple dedicated to the fearsome deity of storms and war. Glyphs reveal how deeply this rivalry ran. Inscriptions at Calakmul boast of victories over Ticol's rulers, including one particularly humiliating event in the year 562, when Calakmul's forces sacked Tikol, captured its king, and dragged him back in chains. The victors didn't just erase Ticol's monuments, they rewrote history, carving their triumphs into the very stones of their pyramids. But Tikol didn't stay down for long. Decades later, under a new king, it struck back, routing Calakmul's armies and burning its palaces in a brutal campaign that shifted the balance of power yet again. What's astonishing is how this rivalry shaped the city's architecture. At Tikol, pyramids grew taller and more imposing, as if reaching for the heavens in defiance. Calakmul, meanwhile, expanded horizontally, its rulers constructing sprawling plazas and satellite complexes to showcase their control over the landscape. Excavations reveal that Calakmul's builders even imported stone from quarries miles away, hauling it through jungle terrain to erect ever grander structures. Their crowning achievement, a vast reservoir system capable of sustaining tens of thousands, a logistical marvel meant to prove their mastery over nature itself. Yet for all its grandeur, Calakmul's fate was sealed by the same rivalry that defined it. As resources dwindled and alliances fractured, the city's power waned. Tikol outlasted its foe, but neither escaped the collapse that eventually consumed the Maya world. Today, Calakmul's ruins lie shrouded in jungle, its pyramids slowly reclaimed by roots and vines. But if you listen closely, the stones still whisper of kings and battles, of a time when two cities built monuments not just to the gods, but to their own unyielding ambition. Beneath the pyramids of Chichén Itzá, the earth opens into vast, water-filled sinkholes known as cenotes. But these weren't just natural wells. To the Maya, they were sacred portals to Xibalba, the underworld where gods and ancestors dwelled in shadow. The most famous, the Cenote Sagrado, lies just north of El Castillo, connected to the pyramid by a ceremonial causeway. This wasn't coincidence. The Maya saw these sinkholes as the mouths of cosmic serpents, gateways between realms where prayers and sacrifices could reach the divine. Diving into these cenotes today, archaeologists have recovered chilling evidence of their spiritual role. The murky depths yield treasures beyond gold and jade. They hold bones. Hundreds of skeletons, many showing signs of ritual trauma, lie submerged in the crystalline waters. Some belonged to warriors, their skulls fractured by blunt force. Others were children, their small bones suggesting offerings made in times of drought or disaster. The most haunting finds, blue-painted remains, their pigment made from sacred Maya blue, a color reserved for sacrifices to Chok, the rain god. These weren't random victims, they were chosen messengers, their deaths meant to plead for life-giving storms. But cenotes weren't just sites of violence, they were also places of pilgrimage. Artifacts pulled from the silt tell a richer story. Delicate incense burners carved with gods' faces, obsidian knives untouched by blood, and thousands of jade beads tossed as offerings. Pilgrims traveled for miles to cast precious objects into the depths, believing the waters would carry their gifts to the underworld gods. At midnight during certain celestial alignments, priests would lower torches into the cenote, the flickering light transforming the walls into a shimmering cathedral of stone, alive with dancing shadows. The connection to pyramids goes deeper than proximity. At Uxmal, a secret tunnel stretches from the governor's palace to a hidden cenote, its entrance marked by carvings of serpents diving into the earth. Researchers believe rulers used these passages for ritual descents, emerging from the underworld reborn, their authority sanctified by the gods. Even the architecture mirrors this bond. Pyramids often feature masks of Chok flanking their staircases, their gaping mouths echoing the cenote's dark openings. What few realize is that these sinkholes also served as astronomical tools. During the dry season, when water levels dropped, the cenote's still surfaces became mirrors, reflecting constellations so clearly, priests could chart Venus's path without looking up. The pyramid at Chichén Itzá aligns with the cenote to frame the Pleiades at zenith, turning the entire complex into a celestial observatory. Today, the Cenote Sagrado still draws visitors, not with sacrifices but with its eerie beauty. Sunlight filters through vines, painting the water emerald and sapphire. Yet beneath that tranquil surface, the past lingers. When the wind stirs the trees, it carries whispers of a time when these waters were more than pools, they were thresholds to the divine, feared and revered by a civilization that saw the earth itself as alive. Among the most brilliant architectural achievements of the Maya were the mysterious structures now called E-groups, pyramid complexes designed not just for worship, but as celestial calendars carved in stone. These precise arrangements of buildings, found in cities like Uaxactun and Caracol, reveal a civilization so attuned to the cosmos, they turned entire plazas into open-air observatories. At first glance, an E-group might seem simple, a long, low platform facing a pyramid across a wide plaza. But stand there at dawn during the equinox and the true genius awakens. The eastern pyramid aligns perfectly with the rising sun on the spring and fall equinoxes, its shadow stretching like a sundial's hand across the plaza. On solstices, sunlight flares around its edges at precise angles, marking the year's shortest and longest days. The western platform often holds three smaller temples, positioned to frame the sunrises of key agricultural dates, planting and harvest seasons, signaled by shadows that creep between them like celestial clockwork. Maya astronomers didn't need telescopes. Their pyramids were their lenses, their plazas the graph paper for plotting the heavens. One of the best preserved examples lies at Uaxactun, where the E-group's three temples act as solar markers. From a vantage point atop the eastern pyramid, priests watch the sun rise over Temple 1 on the summer solstice, shift to Temple 2 at the equinoxes, and align with Temple 3 for the winter solstice, a year's cycle etched in stone and light. The accuracy is breathtaking. Even today, modern astronomers have confirmed these alignments deviate by less than half a degree, but the E-groups weren't static calendars. At Cebu, researchers discovered the Maya rebuilt their complex multiple times, tweaking angles over centuries to account for subtle shifts in Earth's orbit. This wasn't guesswork. It was a science honed through generations, passed down in observatories where scribes recorded celestial patterns on bark paper codices. The pyramids themselves became living documents, their stones adjusted like the hands of a cosmic clock. What's even more astonishing is how these structures doubled as theaters for sacred drama. During solstice ceremonies, priests clad in feathered regalia would ascend the pyramids, their silhouettes merging with the sun's path. Glyphs describe HOW Chinese letter, 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 ceremonial fires at precise moments, the smoke rising to feed the sun god on his journey. The E-groups weren't just tools, they were stages where humanity danced with the cosmos. Recent LiDAR scans have unveiled E-groups hidden beneath jungle canopies across the Maya world, their alignment so consistent they hint at a shared astronomical blueprint. Some, like the one at El Palmar, even track Venus's movements, proving the Maya wove multiple celestial cycles into a single architectural tapestry. To walk these plazas today is to tread the grooves of an ancient mind, one that saw time not as fleeting, but as a rhythm written in stone and shadow, waiting for the sun to read it aloud once more. Deep beneath the pyramid of the inscriptions at Palenque, a discovery rewrote history. In 1952, archaeologist Alberto Roslulia pried open a hidden passage leading down a narrow, claustrophobic staircase, only to find it deliberately filled with rubble. After 4 grueling years of excavation, his team broke through to a vaulted chamber where an enormous carved slab lay sealed for over 1,000 years. Beneath it, the tomb of King Pakal the Great, his skeletal remains draped in jade jewels surrounded by offerings so lavish they stunned the archaeological world. But the real showstopper wasn't the treasures, it was the sarcophagus lid. This 11-ton slab of limestone depicts Pakal not in death, but in cosmic motion, reclining on what some interpret as a spaceship launching toward the heavens. His body tilts backward as if accelerating, one hand on a control panel like object, the other reaching toward a celestial serpent. Beneath him, the jaws of the underworld gape open, while above, a sacred tree erupts with celestial symbols. Mainstream archaeologists view this as a spiritual journey, the king's soul navigating the layers of the Mayan cosmos to join the gods. But the imagery is so startlingly dynamic, it sparked wild theories about ancient astronauts, despite scholars debunking these claims for decades. The carvings surrounding the sarcophagus deepen the mystery. 9 figures, likely ancestors or gods, frame the scene, each holding symbols of celestial bodies. Glyphs describe Pakal's rebirth as the maize god, his remains intentionally dusted with cinnabar to mimic the sacred red pigment of resurrection. Even the tomb's architecture whispers secrets. The chamber's corbelled ceiling forms a stepped vault mirroring the pyramid above, symbolizing Pakal's ascent. Here's what's truly mind-bending. Pakal commissioned this tomb decades before his death. The pyramid wasn't built over his grave, it was designed around it, with the entire structure acting as a celestial launchpad for his soul. The staircase leading down, a symbolic reversal. While most Mayan pyramids point skyward, Pakal's journey required descent into the underworld before rising anew. Modern scans reveal even more brilliance. The tomb's walls are lined with channels that may have carried voices or sounds from ceremonies above, immersing the king's spirit in eternal ritual. The stones themselves seem alive, vibrating with intention. Today, standing before Pakal's sarcophagus, you're not just looking at a burial, you're witnessing a civilization's entire cosmology carved in stone, a king's defiant laugh at mortality etched for eternity. Climbing the steps of a Mayan pyramid today, you'll see weathered stone, but imagine those same surfaces gleaming white, covered in a smooth layer of stucco so finely polished it reflected sunlight like marble. The Maya didn't just build pyramids, they transformed them into colossal canvases, coating every inch in a plaster-like mixture of burnt limestone and water, then sculpting and painting it into vibrant masterpieces. This stucco wasn't just decoration, it was a sacred skin, a medium for stories, gods, and cosmic maps meant to dazzle both mortals and deities. Take the Pyramid of the Paintings at Bonampak. Though its murals have faded, infrared imaging reveals ghostly outlines of once brilliant scenes. Kings in feathered headdresses presiding over ceremonies, warriors mid-battle with jaguar pelts flaring behind them, and astronomers tracking celestial events with outstretched hands. The colors were anything but subtle. Cinnabar reds, Maya blue made from rare indigo and clay, and ochre yellows derived from minerals turned these pyramids into kaleidoscopes of symbolism. At Calakmul, archaeologists found stucco friezes so detailed, they depicted individual strands of hair on royal portraits, each lock carved with precision that would challenge modern sculptors. The process itself was a feat of engineering. Workers mixed stucco to a consistency thicker than modern plaster, allowing it to hold intricate reliefs without sagging. Artisans applied it in layers, often working while the material was still damp to carve scenes directly into the surface. Some pyramids, like those at Palenque, featured stucco masks of gods so large they spanned entire terraces, their hollow eyes once inlaid with obsidian to catch firelight during night rituals. The Maya even developed weather-resistant formulas, adding tree sap or plant fibers to prevent cracking in the tropical heat. What's heartbreaking is how much we've lost. Humidity, rain, and centuries of erosion have washed away most stucco artwork, leaving only fragments clinging to sheltered crevices. At El Mirador, a downpour in 2012 revealed a previously hidden stucco frieze of the hero twins, mythological figures from the Popol Vuh, only for it to crumble within days of exposure. Yet these fleeting glimpses hint at what once was. Pyramids not as mute stones but as storytelling monuments, their surfaces alive with movement and meaning. Recent discoveries prove the Maya repainted their stucco murals regularly, layering new scenes over old as part of ritual renewal. At Tikal, archaeologists found traces of 7 distinct paint layers on a single pyramid facade. E-A-C-H, Chinese letter reflecting a ruler's reign or a celestial event. This wasn't upkeep, it was resurrection, a way to keep the sacred dialogue between earth and sky fresh. The stucco's brilliance served a spiritual purpose too. Under moonlight, white-coated pyramids would have glowed like beacons, visible for miles. During festivals, torchlight flickering across carved scenes made shadows dance, bringing myths to life. The Maya didn't just want you to see their art, they wanted you to experience it, to feel the god's presence in every curve of stucco. Today, when we run our hands over the last faint traces of pigment, we're touching more than ruined art. We're touching the fingerprints of artists who turned stone into scripture and pyramids into portals of the divine. Deep in the rainforest straddling Belize and Guatemala, the ruins of El Pilar slumber beneath a green ocean of vines and towering ceiba trees. Unlike more famous Mayan sites, this city remains largely unexcavated, a time capsule where pyramids, plazas, and palaces lie frozen in the moment they were abandoned, waiting to share secrets archaeologists are only beginning to uncover. What makes El Pilar extraordinary isn't just its scale, over 50 acres of structures hidden beneath the canopy, but the tantalizing possibility that its most significant treasures still lie buried, untouched for over 1,000 years. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed tantalizing glimpses of what's below, a sprawling network of temples and residential compounds, their outlines barely visible beneath centuries of accumulated soil and roots. The largest pyramid, nicknamed the Bat Palace for the colonies of bats nesting in its crevices, rises 60 feet high, its summit still crowned with intact stucco friezes of gods and kings. But here's the twist: archaeologists have deliberately left 90% of the site unexcavated, a radical decision in a field often driven by discovery. Their goal: to preserve El Pillar as a living laboratory, studying how the jungle and ruins interact over time while using non-invasive technology to map its secrets. Walking through El Pillar today feels like stepping into an explorer's sketchbook. Lianas drape across doorways, their tendrils threading through stone glyphs. Tree roots curl around altars like protective serpents. In one plaza, a half-exposed stele depicts a queen holding a scepter woven with celestial symbols, her face eroded just enough to leave her expression hauntingly ambiguous. The air hums with the possibility that beneath every mossy mound could lie a royal tomb, a cache of jade masks, or even an untouched library of bark paper codices, the holy grail of Mayan archaeology. What's most revolutionary about El Pillar isn't just what's hidden, but what it reveals about daily Mayan life. While grand cities like Tikal showcased power, El Pillar's layout suggests a focus on sustainability. Terraced agricultural fields stretch for miles around the ruins, along with ingenious irrigation channels that turned seasonal rains into a reliable water source. Residential compounds cluster around shared gardens, hinting at a society that balanced monument building with community needs. This wasn't just a ceremonial center, it was a home, and its untouched state offers a rare chance to see how ordinary Maya lived alongside their kings. The site's most poignant mystery lingers in its final moments. Unlike other cities abandoned during the Maya collapse, El Pillar shows no signs of violence or panic. Artifacts found in surface surveys: a pot left mid-repair, a necklace of spondylus shells tucked beneath a floor, suggest a gradual, deliberate departure. Some researchers theorize the city became a pilgrimage site long after its decline, where later Maya came to honor ancestors among the decaying pyramids. Others believe it simply faded back into the earth, its people dispersing into the forest until only the stones remembered their names. El Pillar challenges everything we thought we knew about discovering the past. Its greatest gift might be the questions it refuses to answer yet. When the first laser scans revealed a previously unknown tunnel snaking beneath the Bat Palace, archaeologists debated for years whether to enter. That hesitation itself is a revelation. Sometimes the most profound respect for history means leaving some doors unopened, letting the jungle keep its secrets until we're wise enough to understand them. While modern engineers struggle with crumbling concrete in humid climates, the Maya perfected a lime-based cement over 2,000 years ago, one so durable it still binds their pyramids together today. This isn't just mortar, it's a technological marvel, a recipe blending burned limestone, tree sap, and volcanic ash into a paste that hardened into something nearly indestructible. Recent lab tests revealed its compressive strength rivals, and in some cases surpasses modern Portland cement, despite being mixed without industrial tools or synthetic additives. The secret: a process called slaking, where the Maya burned limestone at precise temperatures, then soaked it in water for months, creating a putty with unmatched adhesive properties. But the real stroke of genius lay in their additives. At Chichén, archaeologists found mortar samples embedded with organic fibers from the chucum and geote trees, natural polymers that acted like microscopic reinforcements, preventing cracks from spreading. Other sites show evidence of volcanic ash mixed into the paste, a trick that reduced shrinkage as the cement cured. The result: a material that didn't just withstand tropical storms and earthquakes, it thrived in them. While modern concrete erodes under centuries of rain, Mayan cement grew stronger, its surface forming a protective crust called calcite that repelled water like a stone sealant. What's even more astonishing is how they applied it. At Tikal, workers spread the cement in thin, even layers between stones, then polished the surface with smooth river rocks until it gleamed. This wasn't just practical, it was sacred. Glyphs describe the mixing process as a ritual, with priests blessing the paste as a blood of the earth, a metaphorical bridge between human effort and divine permanence. The cement's white color held spiritual significance too, symbolizing purity and the afterlife, turning pyramids into literal beacons of sacred light. Today, engineers are racing to reverse engineer this ancient recipe. In labs, replicas of Mayan cement exposed to salt water and acidic rain for decades show almost no degradation, outperforming modern blends. Some researchers believe the key lies in the long slaking process, which allowed the lime to develop a crystalline structure that modern quick-setting methods skip. Others point to the organic additives, a sustainable alternative to the carbon-intensive chemicals in contemporary concrete. The irony is palpable. While we pour billions into developing advanced materials, the Maya had already crafted the ultimate green cement, using local resources and zero fossil fuels. Their pyramids didn't just defy time, they whispered a lesson we're only now learning. Sometimes the most futuristic solutions are buried in the past. Rising from the jungles of Veracruz, the Pyramid of the Niches stands as one of the most enigmatic structures of the ancient Americas. At first glance, it's the intricate lattice of recessed squares, exactly 365 of them, that captures attention. But these aren't mere decorations. Each niche is a day, a tiny stone pocket marking the passage of a solar year with mathematical precision. The Mayas' obsession with time wasn't just recorded in codices, it was carved into the very bones of their architecture, turning this pyramid into a permanent celestial ledger. Step closer and the genius of its design unfolds. The niches aren't randomly placed, they're arranged in 7 tiers, each level representing a key phase of the agricultural cycle: planting, growth, and harvest interwoven with ceremonial periods. The pyramid staircases divide these tiers into 18 sections, mirroring the 18 months of the Mayan solar calendar. Even the pyramid's orientation is deliberate. Its corners align with the sunrise on the summer and winter solstices, casting shadows that slither across the niches like a serpent counting the days. What's truly astonishing is how the niches change with the light. During equinoxes, the sun strikes the pyramid at such an angle that the recesses on the western side appear to glow, while those on the east plunge into shadow. This interplay of light and dark wasn't just visual poetry, it was a functional calendar, a way for priests to track the year's progress without a single written record. Farmers could glance at the pyramid and know when to sow maize. Astronomers used the shifting shadows to predict celestial events, but the symbolism runs deeper. Each niche may have once held an object, a small idol, an offering, or even a torch. Imagine the pyramid at night during a festival, its 365 niches flickering with fire, transforming the structure into a shimmering constellation grounded in earth. This wasn't just a timekeeping device, it was a communal heartbeat, a way to synchronize human lives with the cosmic rhythm. Recent excavations revealed another layer of meaning. Beneath the niches, archaeologists found traces of red pigment mixed with crushed hematite, a mineral believed to channel solar energy. The Maya may have seen these niches as portals, each one capturing a fragment of the sun's power to nourish the pyramid's spiritual charge. The Pyramid of the Niches doesn't just count time, it consecrates it, turning days into offerings and the passage of years into a sacred dialogue between earth and sky. For centuries, the image of Mayan pyramid builders has been dominated by shirtless male laborers hauling stones under the scorching sun, but groundbreaking discoveries are shattering that stereotype. Among the ruins of Chichén, archaeologists uncovered the burial of a high-status woman surrounded by construction tools, polished hematite gauges for marking stone, a mason's plumb bob, and jade carvings of architectural plans. Her skeletal arms showed the muscular development of someone who spent years shaping heavy materials, while glyphs nearby identified her as a Kayuhul Ahor, a sacred architect or master builder. This wasn't an isolated case. At Palenque, murals depict women in elaborate headdresses supervising work crews, holding measuring cords used to align pyramid corners with celestial events. The evidence goes deeper than individual burials. Chemical analysis of teeth from workers' graves at Tikal revealed something astonishing: nearly 30% belonged to women, their enamel bearing the same distinctive wear patterns as male laborers from prolonged grit exposure during stone polishing. Some female skeletons showed healed fractures consistent with falling masonry, while others had spinal deformities from carrying heavy loads. These weren't just occasional helpers, they were integral to construction, performing the same backbreaking tasks as men. Even the tools tell a story. Smaller, precision chisels found in residential areas suggest women may have specialized in delicate relief work, carving the intricate glyphs and deity masks that adorned pyramid facades. What's truly revolutionary is how these findings rewrite our understanding of Mayan society. Hieroglyphic texts at Yaxchilan describe a queen named Lady Kayabel overseeing the expansion of the city's great acropolis, personally approving the astronomical alignments of its temples. At Kaaba, stelae show women holding the same ceremonial axes used to break ground for new pyramids, a ritual role previously assumed to be exclusively male. Far from being confined to domestic spheres, elite women likely acted as patrons and visionaries, commissioning pyramids as political statements. The famed Red Queen of Palenque, buried in a tomb dripping with cinnabar pigment, may have directed the construction of Temple 13, its unusual curved design mirroring her own innovative reign. But why has this evidence been overlooked for so long? Early archaeologists often misinterpreted or ignored artifacts associated with women, assuming jewelry or spindle whorls in construction sites meant they were merely observers. Modern techniques like DNA analysis and isotope testing have forced a reckoning. At El Peru Waka, researchers using 3D scanning reconstructed the faces of female skeletons buried with construction tools, revealing cheek implants and filed teeth marks of high status that prove these women weren't laborers but respected overseers. The most poetic discovery comes from Guatemala's Homel site, where a mural shows a woman in a jade-beaded apron standing atop a pyramid blueprint, her outstretched arms framing the rising sun. The glyphs name her as Ixmutul Ajor, Lady of the Sacred Measurements. Her image, part architect, part priestess, embodies the dual roles women played in shaping Mayan sacred spaces. They didn't just build pyramids, they mapped the cosmos in stone, aligning earthly power with celestial will. This isn't about rewriting history for modern sensibilities, it's about listening to what the stones have always whispered. The next time you see a Mayan pyramid, remember, its perfect angles might have been plotted by a queen's hand, its celestial alignments calculated by a priestess's gaze, and its towering heights raised by the calloused palms of women whose stories are only now being unearthed. Among the jungles of Guatemala, the ruins of Nacp hold one of the earliest examples of a style so striking. It became a signature of Mayan sacred architecture, the Triadic Pyramid. Picture this, a massive central pyramid flanked by two slightly smaller temples, all three connected by a shared platform to form a single, harmonious complex. This wasn't just an aesthetic choice. The layout mirrored the Mayan cosmos, where the earthly realm sat suspended between the celestial heavens above and the watery underworld below. The triadic design became a physical representation of this three-tiered universe, a stone map of spiritual geography that guided ritual and power for generations. At Nacp, the triadic structures date back to the preclassic period around 600 BCE, proving this concept wasn't a later innovation but a foundational principle of Mayan thought. The central pyramid, often the tallest, represented the axis mundi, the sacred tree or mountain linking all three realms. The flanking temples weren't mere bookends. Their positions corresponded to the rising and setting points of key stars, creating a celestial alignment that turned the entire complex into a functional observatory. During solstices, shadows cast by the outer temples would converge on the central staircase, as if drawing cosmic energy into the heart of the structure. But the triadic design's brilliance lies in its flexibility. At El Mirador, the triadic La Danta complex scales this concept to staggering proportions, its central pyramid towering 230 feet high. Meanwhile, at Uaxactun, the three temples were carefully spaced to frame the sunrise on equinoxes and solstices, their doorways acting like stone viewfinders for tracking the sun's journey. Archaeologists have noted that in many triadic groups, the Western temple often housed artifacts linked to death, and the underworld jade skulls, obsidian knives, while the Eastern temple held symbols of rebirth like maize god imagery. The central pyramid, then, became the liminal space where these forces intersected, where priests mediated between the realms. Why did this design resonate across centuries? The answer might lie in the Popol Vuh, the Mayan creation epic, where the gods first fashioned the world by erecting three hearthstones in the cosmic darkness. These stones, often depicted as jade or star glyphs in art, formed the foundation of existence. Triadic pyramids may have been earthly echoes of that primordial act, their three temples serving as eternal hearthstones anchoring the human world to the divine. Some researchers even suggest the layout mirrored the three stars of Orion's belt, a constellation the Maya tied to the mythic hero twins and the cycle of agricultural renewal. The most haunting triadic group might be at Tikal's North Acropolis, where excavation revealed an earlier version beneath the visible ruins, proof that these cosmic blueprints were preserved across rebuilds spanning centuries. Even as rulers fell and cities rose, the triadic template endured, a testament to how deeply this vision of a threefold universe was etched into Mayan identity. Walking among these ruins today, you're not just seeing pyramids. You're stepping into a living diagram of how an entire civilization understood existence, where every stone was a star, every stairway a path between worlds. Climb to the summit of any major Mayan pyramid today, and you'll notice something unsettling. The very top is missing. Not crumbled by time, not worn by weather, but deliberately absent, as if the pyramid's crown was plucked away by some unseen hand. This isn't a coincidence shared across dozens of sites. From Tikal to Calakmul, the capstones, those sacred pinnacles that once completed these monuments, have vanished without a trace. The question isn't just where they went, but why their removal seems so intentional. One compelling theory points to ritual dismantling. The Maya saw capstones as literal bridges between realms, the final piece that transformed a man-made structure into a conduit for divine energy. Spanish colonial accounts describe ceremonies where priests would ascend pyramids during pivotal astronomical events to awaken the capstone, touching it with bloodied blades or burning sacred resins to activate its power. Some glyphs at Palenque hint that certain capstones weren't permanent. They were removed after rituals and stored in subterranean chambers, their energy too potent to leave exposed. Imagine the scene under a solstice moon, a procession of priests carefully prying loose the capstone's fitted stones, lowering them with ropes to be buried beneath the pyramid's plaza, returning that concentrated sacredness to the earth. Yet there's darker evidence too. At Koba, archaeologists found a shattered capstone at the pyramid's base, its fragments mixed with charred human bones and broken obsidian blades. Carbon dating placed the destruction squarely during the Maya collapse in the 9th century, not by invaders but by the city's own inhabitants. This wasn't looting, it was ritual deconsecration, a desperate act to close the portal between worlds as chaos engulfed their civilization. Glyphs at Yaxchilan describe similar events, with rulers ordering capstones removed during dynastic upheavals, fearing rivals might harness their power. Then there's the looted capstone hypothesis. Unlike the Egyptians, whose pyramid peaks were solid gold or electrum, Mayan capstones were often hollow, chambered repositories for royal relics. A Spanish priest's account from 1695 describes workers at Tikal discovering a capstone filled with jade effigies and mercury, a substance the Maya believed mimicked celestial waters. Within decades of the conquest, these treasures would have drawn opportunistic thieves. At Chichén Itzá, deep gouges on the Temple of the Warriors summit suggest metal tools were used to pry open a sealed capstone, likely by colonists seeking precious offerings. But the most haunting clue comes from an unexpected source: modern satellite imagery. Laser scans over El Zotz revealed an anomaly. The pyramid's missing capstone wasn't stolen or destroyed. It was swallowed. The scans showed the entire top section had sunk inward, collapsing into a hidden chamber below. Excavations confirmed this wasn't structural failure. The chamber's walls were smooth, deliberately carved to receive the capstone in a controlled descent. The Maya, it seems, engineered some capstones to disappear on command, like cosmic trapdoors sealing shut. Whether to protect sacred contents or sever a dying king's connection to the mortal world, the act carried profound finality. Today, these absent peaks are more than architectural gaps. They're silent testimonies to a civilization that saw pyramids not as static monuments, but as living instruments of cosmic balance. Every missing capstone whispers a different story. Some were interred as acts of reverence, others shattered in desperation, and a few still wait beneath centuries of soil, holding secrets we've only begun to uncover. Standing atop the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, compass needles don't point north, they spin erratically or lock onto invisible forces deep within the stone. This isn't just a glitch, it's a magnetic anomaly so precise it defies coincidence. Scientists mapping the pyramid's electromagnetic field made a spine-tingling discovery. Massive deposits of magnetite-rich minerals concentrated beneath the structure, their pull-warping navigational tools as if the Earth itself is whispering secrets. But here's what's truly baffling: these deposits aren't random. They align with the pyramid's axis, suggesting the builders either intentionally chose this site for its unseen energy or somehow engineered the anomaly themselves. The implications are staggering. Magnetite, a naturally magnetic iron oxide, occurs in scattered pockets worldwide, but the concentration beneath the Pyramid of the Sun is unprecedented. Ground-penetrating radar reveals veins of the mineral running like subterranean rivers beneath the pyramid's core, with the highest density directly below the summit altar, the very spot where priests once performed rituals. Modern experiments replicating the anomaly show it's strongest during solar eclipses, as if the pyramid's magnetism interacts with celestial events. Could the Maya have known this? Glyphs at nearby sites reference black stones that pull the sky, possibly describing lodestones or magnetite's properties. Even more provocative are the pyramid's alignments. The structure's western face points toward the spot where Venus sets on its most southerly descent, a phenomenon the Maya tracked religiously. But when researchers adjusted for magnetic north instead of true north, the alignment sharpened to near-perfect precision. This raises a chilling possibility. The pyramid might have been calibrated using magnetic forces as a guide, blending astronomical and terrestrial navigation in ways we're only beginning to understand. Then there's the human factor. Studies of artifacts found in Teotihuacan's ruins show artisans frequently incorporated magnetite into mirrors and jewelry. One ceremonial mask, now in Mexico's National Museum of Anthropology, has eye sockets lined with magnetite fragments, possibly to induce trance-like states by stimulating the brain's magnetic receptors. If the Maya understood magnetite's effects on consciousness, the Pyramid of the Sun's anomaly might not just be architectural, it could be neurological, a way to amplify rituals by literally altering perception. The most haunting theory comes from archaeoacoustic surveys. When researchers played tones matching the pyramid's resonant frequency, compass needles oscillated in sync with the sound waves, as if the stones were designed to sing magnetism into existence. This convergence of sound, stone, and unseen forces suggests the Maya didn't just build with physics. They composed with it, turning pyramids into instruments tuned to frequencies beyond our everyday senses. Today, the anomaly remains one of Mesoamerica's greatest unsolved riddles. Was it a sacred accident of geology or proof of a lost science that harnessed Earth's invisible forces? Either way, the Pyramid of the Sun doesn't just tower over the landscape. It pulls at the very tools we use to measure it, a reminder that some ancient secrets refuse to be neatly mapped. Walk up to the Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichén Itzá and count the terraces. You'll find exactly 9 levels staring back at you. This isn't random. Across the Mayan world, from Tikal to Palenque, the number 9 emerges again and again in pyramid design, woven into the very fabric of sacred architecture. But why? The answer lies deep in Mayan mythology, where 9 wasn't just a number. It was a map of the cosmos, a stairway through the terrifying and transformative layers of Xibalba, the underworld. In the Popol Vuh, the Mayan creation epic, the underworld isn't a single realm. It's a labyrinth of 9 distinct levels, each more perilous than the last. Ruled by death gods known as the Lords of Xibalba, these layers weren't just places of punishment. They were stages of initiation, trials that souls had to navigate to achieve rebirth. Picture it: the first level, a river of scorpions; the fourth, a chamber of freezing winds; the 9th and deepest, a void where even time unraveled. By building pyramids with 9 tiers, the Maya didn't just honor this myth. They recreated it in stone, turning every ascent into a symbolic journey through the underworld's gauntlet. The connection goes deeper than mere symbolism. At Palenque, the Temple of the Inscriptions has 9 step terraces leading to Pakal's tomb, echoing his descent into Xibalba before his celestial rebirth. In Guatemala's El Mirador, the Ladanta Pyramid's 9 levels align with burial chambers containing offerings of 9 jade beads, 9 ceramic vessels, even 9 spearheads, ritual echoes of the underworld's demands. Some archaeologists theorize that ceremonial processions moved in 9-part cycles around these structures, priests pausing at each tier to recite invocations specific to that layer of Xibalba. But here's where it gets eerie. The number 9 didn't just dictate design, it shaped the pyramid's mathematics. Measurements at Capon's hieroglyphic stairway reveal that the ratio between the height of each tier follows a precise geometric progression linked to the number 9. The steps between levels often number 9 or multiples of 9, creating a hidden rhythm in the architecture. Even the spacing between pyramids in ceremonial groups, like those at Uaxactun, frequently follows intervals divisible by 9 sacred Mayan units of measurement. The obsession bled into rituals too. Glyphs describe bloodletting ceremonies where nobles pierced their tongues 9 times to honor the Lords of Xibalba, their blood sprinkled on pyramid steps. At Caracol, archaeologists found a cache of 9 obsidian blades arranged in a starburst pattern beneath a pyramid's cornerstone offerings to secure the builder's passage through the underworld's trials. The Maya even tracked time in 9 night cycles, with certain pyramids hosting ceremonies only during these windows, their terraces lit by torches in groups of 9. What's truly astonishing is how this number transcended culture. While the Aztecs envisioned 13 underworld layers, the Maya clung to 9, a system so ingrained that even their calendars reflected it. The infamous end date of their long count calendar in 2012, it lands on the completion of 9 cycles of creation, a numerological full circle back to Xibalba's embrace. Today, when you stand before a 9-tiered pyramid, you're not just looking at a building, you're seeing a spiritual blueprint. Each level whispers of a civilization that didn't fear death but mapped it, turning stone into a ladder between worlds. The 9th terrace wasn't the end, it was the threshold where darkness finally gave way to dawn. The story we've been told about the Mayan collapse is wrong, or at least incomplete. While the grand cities of the southern lowlands like Tikal and Palenque were swallowed by jungle in the 9th century, a remarkable truth hides in plain sight across the Yucatan Peninsula. Far from vanishing, the Maya didn't just survive, they flourished, building new pyramids and revitalizing old ones in cities like Chichén Itzá, Mayan, and Uxmal centuries after their southern counterparts fell silent. This wasn't a collapse, it was a metamorphosis, a dramatic reimagining of power, trade, and sacred architecture that challenges everything we thought we knew about the end of their civilization. Take Chichén Itzá, whose iconic pyramid El Castillo wasn't even built until the 10th century, long after historians claimed the Maya had disappeared. This city became the beating heart of a vibrant new era, where influences from central Mexico blended with traditional Mayan styles. The evidence is etched in stone, reliefs of feathered serpents alongside Chac rain gods, ball courts grander than anything in the classic period, and observatories tracking Venus with even greater precision. Meanwhile, coastal cities like Tulum thrived as maritime trade hubs, their cliffside pyramids guiding ships through a network that stretched from the Gulf of Mexico to Honduras. But the real revelation comes from Mayan, a city that rose to dominance in the 13th century. Often overshadowed by its more famous neighbors, Mayan's compact urban center was a masterclass in adaptation. Its pyramids, though smaller, were clustered strategically within colossal defensive walls, a response to the era's political turbulence. Archaeologists have found evidence of thriving craft workshops, bustling markets, and even a council-based governance system that replaced the god-kings of old. The Maya hadn't collapsed, they'd evolved, trading the sprawling ceremonial centers of the past for leaner, more pragmatic cities. Why does this myth persist? Blame early archaeologists who focused on the abandoned southern cities, their romantic ruins easier to frame as a mystery. The Yucatan's later sites, with their mixed architectural styles and less dramatic endings, didn't fit the narrative of a sudden, apocalyptic collapse. But laser scans now reveal something groundbreaking. Many classic pyramids were ritually reoccupied during this so-called post-collapse period. At Etna, workers stripped stucco from ancient temples to erect new structures atop them, a practice once misinterpreted as vandalism but now recognized as purposeful renewal, a physical claim to ancestral legitimacy. The most compelling counterargument to the collapse narrative hides in the mundane pottery. Chemical analysis of ceramic shards from northern Yucatan shows continuous production from the classic period straight through to the Spanish arrival. Designs evolved, trade routes shifted, but the culture never fractured. Even language tells the tale. The same Mayan dialects spoken in pyramid cities 1,000 years ago are still alive today, carried by millions of descendants who never stopped calling these lands home. The truth is, the Maya didn't vanish, they transformed, their pyramids standing not as tombstones for a dead civilization, but as milestones in an unbroken journey. The real mystery isn't why their cities fell, but why we've been so determined to see abandonment where there was always reinvention. Beneath the shadow of El Castillo at Chichén Itzá, the air hums with the murmur of prayers in Yucatec Maya, not from ancient priests but from living descendants keeping traditions alive. Every spring equinox, modern-day Mayan shamans climb the pyramid's sacred steps, not as tourists but as spiritual stewards performing rituals that bridge centuries. They carry copal resin in clay burners, their sweet smoke curling skyward just as it did when their ancestors charted Venus's path. This isn't reenactment, it's continuity. Across Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize, over 7 million Maya maintain vibrant ties to these ruins, transforming archaeological sites into living temples where past and present merge. At Tikal, dawn ceremonies during the way of the 5 unlucky days ending the Mayan calendar draw hundreds from nearby villages. Women in embroidered huipiles bless bundles of medicinal herbs on pyramid summits, while men beat drums tuned to frequencies that match the structure's resonant acoustics. In Palenque, descendants of Pakal's lineage still leave offerings of pozole, fermented corn drink, in hidden chambers, believing their ancestors' spirits thirst for the same sustenance they enjoyed in life. These practices aren't frozen in time, they evolve. Modern shamans incorporate Catholic saints alongside traditional gods, seeing no contradiction, only synthesis. At Kaaba, candles lit for the rain god Chok share altar space with images of Saint Michael, both revered as protectors against drought. Archaeologists once dismissed these rituals as folklore, but recent collaborations with Mayan elders have revealed startling insights. In 2019, a shaman guided researchers to a previously overlooked alcove in Ekbalam's pyramid, where infrared scans later confirmed traces of ceremonial chocolate residue, a drink once reserved for royalty. The shaman's explanation, his grandfather's stories described bitter gifts for the stone guardians. This reciprocity between oral tradition and science is reshaping preservation efforts. At Uxmal, conservators now consult with local spiritual guides before restorations, learning which stones hold ceremonial significance to avoid accidentally desecrating sacred spaces. The most profound rituals occur in secrecy. Under full moons, some communities still stage hidden dances inside pyramid plazas, reenacting creation myths with masks carved from sacred cedar wood. These performances, closed to outsiders, serve as spiritual education for new generations. Teenagers learn the movements of the hero twins' underworld journey, their bare feet tracing the same patterns their ancestors danced a millennium ago. Meanwhile, in Guatemala's highlands, Daykeeper's calendar priests use pyramid alignments to recalibrate the 260-day Tzolk'in cycle, proving these structures remain functional cosmic tools. Tourists often mistake these practitioners for costumed performers, but their devotion runs deep. When hurricanes threaten, shamans at Chilam's seaside pyramids conduct storm-binding rites, tying red cords around stelae to symbolically restrain the winds, a fusion of ancient meteorology and faith. After the 2020 earthquake damaged Chichén Itzá's ball court, local Maya organized a stone healing ceremony, anointing cracks with honey and butterfly wings to restore its spiritual integrity. This living connection defies the trope of a lost civilization. The Maya didn't vanish, they adapted, carrying forward the essence of their worldview even as empires fell. When a shaman today gazes up at Kukulkan's shadow serpent, he doesn't see a relic, he sees a mirror reflecting a culture that still breathes, prays, and remembers. The stones may be ancient, but the rituals, they're alive, pulsing with the same heartbeat that first raised these pyramids toward the stars. From the towering grandeur of El Mirador to the celestial precision of Chichén Itzá's equinox spectacle, the Mayan pyramids stand as monuments to a civilization that defied every limitation. Imagine a people without metal tools or wheels, yet capable of aligning colossal structures to the movements of Venus with pinpoint accuracy. Picture artisans painting entire pyramids in vibrant reds and blues, turning limestone into cosmic canvases. These weren't just buildings, they were living calendars, sacred portals, and echoes of a world where time, divinity, and human ambition converged in stone. What lingers most isn't just their scale, but their secrets, the hidden tunnels beneath Teotihuacan where liquid mercury still pools like an otherworldly river, the acoustic marvels that make whispers travel supernatural distances, the 9-tiered pyramids mapping the underworld's layers with mathematical devotion. Each discovery peels back another layer, revealing how the Maya turned architecture into a dialogue with the cosmos. Even today, descendants climb these very steps, keeping ancient rituals alive, proof that these pyramids aren't relics of a dead past but bridges across time. If these stories have ignited your curiosity, you're not alone. The mysteries of the Maya continue to unravel, and there's no substitute for standing in the shadow of these giants yourself. Walk the ball courts where fate hung on a rubber ball's bounce, or touch the stones still humming with echoes of the past. And while you're here, tell us which fact left you awestruck. Do you think the capstones were dismantled in ceremony, or is there another explanation for their disappearance? Drop your theories below. We read every comment. And for those hungry to explore further, prepare to step into another world of wonder. In our next video, we're venturing beyond the jungle to uncover the brutal beauty of Aztec pyramids, where blood met gold atop temples that rivaled the heavens themselves. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, the greatest stories are still etched in stone, waiting for us to